Before you judge him for what he did, ask yourself this. What would you do if you pretended to leave town only to watch your wife pop champagne with another man in your living room? No shouting, no confrontation. Just a silent husband staring at betrayal through hidden cameras, planning revenge so calmly it becomes unsettling. This is not rage, this is strategy. And when he returned home with flowers and a smile, she never sensed the storm already aimed at her life. Keep listening, because what he did next ruined reputations, ended careers, and left her begging for mercy. Michael Harris packed his suitcase the same way he configured firewalls, methodically, quietly, with every detail planned 3 steps ahead. A pressed Navy suit folded along military lines. Laptop charger coiled like a secure Ethernet cable. A travel-size shaving kit placed dead center, perfectly symmetrical. To anyone watching, he was a husband preparing for a routine business trip. To him, it was a deployment, not overseas, not to a client site, but into the quiet war zone of truth. Emily leaned against the kitchen counter scrolling her phone. Her blonde hair hung loose like she was off duty. No makeup, yet somehow radiant. She did not look like someone afraid of losing something. She barely looked up. "You sure you do not want me to drop you at the airport?" she asked, monotone, casual, as if this was any Thursday. Michael zipped the suitcase without hurry. "I will just call a rideshare, early flight, no point waking you up." She nodded, not a flicker of sadness. No warmth, only the reflection of bright pixels in her eyes as she texted someone he did not know. Or maybe he did know. He just was not ready to believe it yet. He crossed the living room slowly, his shoes barely whispering across hardwood he installed himself 2 years ago. Each plank hand-sanded, memory by memory. Movie nights, Thanksgiving. The first night they adopted Bailey, the golden retriever now sleeping near the fireplace like innocence personified. Emily never noticed when Michael's hand paused on the back of the couch. It was not hesitation. It was goodbye. The house smelled faintly of her vanilla candles mixed with autumn rain seeping from the window cracks. Seattle always felt like a city built for secrets. Wet streets, dim bars, people rushing under umbrellas, never looking into each other's eyes long enough to see guilt. Michael stepped outside. The porch light glowed amber against the drizzle. He gave the house one last glance before getting into his car. Seatbelt clicked like chambered ammunition. He exhaled once, slow and disciplined, the way his father, a retired Marine Corps officer, taught him before stressful shooting drills. Calm is the real weapon, son. Anger makes noise. Precision ends wars. He drove 5 miles, not to the airport, but to a mid-range hotel near the waterfront. He checked in under an alias connected to a burner email. Payment routed through a virtual credit card. Cybersecurity, 101, cover tracks, leave no metadata trail. The front desk clerk did not ask questions. Men on business trips rarely invite scrutiny. Inside room 407, Michael placed his suitcase against the wall untouched. He opened his laptop, launched the surveillance dashboard hidden behind layers of encryption. 3 cameras were already live in the house, micro units embedded inside a smoke detector shell, a wall clock frame, and the corner vent. Consumer tech modified with enterprise-grade firmware, invisible until you knew what to look for. Hours passed. Michael sat still, posture straight, eyes unblinking, like monitoring a live intrusion attempt inside a corporate network. Nothing happened, just Bailey pacing, the hum of the refrigerator, television glow casting an empty couch in blue. Then, at 8:17 p.m., motion alert. He clicked immediately. Emily entered through the front door. But she was not alone. A man followed. Taller than Michael, confident, wearing a casual blazer like someone coming from after-work drinks. His hand brushed Emily's waist with familiarity. Not accidental, possessive. The way a man touches someone he believes he has earned. Michael felt something tighten inside his chest. Not explosive, but contracting like cold steel around a wire. Emily giggled, not the polite laugh she used in public. This one was unguarded, youthful, the version of her he had not heard since their early dating phase. She tossed her coat aside, uncorked a bottle of wine, no, champagne. Michael recognized the label, Veuve Clicquot. He had been saving it for their anniversary next month. They popped it open anyway, as if celebrating, his champagne, his glasses, his living room. The man raised his glass. To finally having you without pretending. Emily leaned in, lips close to his ear. Michael is out of town. We have the whole house. Michael did not flinch, did not speak, did not smash the laptop against the wall. His pulse slowed instead of rising. Focus sharpened like code executing cleanly. He watched them sit on the couch where he once traced constellations on her skin with his fingertips. They clinked glasses. Champagne sparkled like small detonations of betrayal. Bailey barked once, confused. Emily laughed again, softer this time, and kissed the stranger. Michael pressed record, every pixel, every frame, evidence stored redundantly across 3 cloud servers. Financial planning logic, always duplicate critical assets. He leaned back in the dim hotel room, face expressionless. He whispered a single line into the quiet. That was your last mistake. The real trip had only just begun. There was a time when Emily felt like home. Before the silence, before the locked phone screen and the faint smell of cologne Michael did not wear. In the early years, they were the couple friends pointed at with soft envy. Sunday coffee runs. Grocery store arguments about which cereal was healthier. Nights falling asleep with her head on his chest as rain drummed against the window. Marriage was not cinematic back then. It was ordinary in the way most Americans silently crave. Steady, predictable, safe. Michael remembered the way she used to wait up when he worked late on a cybersecurity contract. Light on in the living room, a blanket around her shoulders, the smell of peppermint tea. She would ask about his day even when she barely understood half the technical jargon. She listened anyway. He felt seen in a world where most men were expected to be stone. But routines calcify. Years pass. People change, sometimes without announcing it. The first fracture was subtle. Emily started picking up extra shifts at the hospital, or that was what she said. She claimed understaffing. Healthcare was drowning post-pandemic. Her explanation sounded noble on paper. Michael trusted her. Trust was the one currency he never audited. He noticed her phone, though, always face down. Notifications silenced. She would angle her body away when she typed. It was the kind of micro-behavior you ignore the first time, the second, the fifth, until the pattern forms like a network breach signature you can no longer dismiss. Michael tried to rationalize it. Stress, burnout, marriage fatigue. He told himself not to become the jealous husband archetype, the kind men online mock for insecurity. He chose patience, observation. He logged details casually the way he monitored server logs, not to accuse, just to understand. One night, she came home smelling of a scent he did not recognize, not disinfectant from the hospital. Something masculine, like cedarwood and aftershave. Emily claimed she hugged a patient's family member who cried on her shoulder. Logical enough, if he wanted to believe it. Many men would have taken that answer at face value. Michael did not press further. He kissed her forehead gently, knowing the truth hides best when unthreatened. Still, something inside him tightened. the intimacy shifted. Not dramatic, more like temperature dropping 1 degree at a time, barely noticeable until you wake in a cold room. Sex became sporadic, rushed, as if she was completing an obligation. Conversations grew shallow. Emily laughed more at her phone than at his jokes. She guarded that device like a classified brief. The passcode changed, twice. She said it was hospital policy to protect patient records. Michael nodded and smiled, but his mind ran probability models like an automated threat scanner. The statistical risk of deception was rising. Then came the night she forgot to erase everything. She fell asleep early, phone unlocked beside her on the nightstand. Michael lay beside her, staring at the soft rise and fall of her breathing. He promised himself he would not invade her privacy. He almost respected that promise. Almost. A message preview flashed. Ryan. Tonight was perfect. Same time Friday. Michael's chest hollowed. The room felt too quiet, like soundproof walls closing around him. He did not touch the phone. He did not scroll. He did not wake her or shake answers from her mouth. He simply stared at her silhouette in the dark, the woman who once cried during their wedding vows, and wondered how love could decompose without a sound. He spent the next week watching, not accusing, collecting anomalies as if building a case file. Business reports, timestamps, the smell of unfamiliar cologne, laundry that had been washed twice in 24 hours. None of these were proof alone. Together, they formed a story. Emily became distant, cold. She spoke to him like he was a roommate rather than a husband. She planned things without consulting him. When he suggested counseling, she brushed it off with a laugh too light to be innocent. "We are fine, Michael. You just overthink everything." Maybe he did. Overthinking was practically a job requirement in cybersecurity. But marriage is a network too. Trust is the firewall, communication the encryption. Once cracks appear, intrusion is only a matter of time. Michael realized he stood at a threshold, continue pretending, or pull the thread and watch the fabric unravel. Love whispered forgiveness. Logic demanded truth. He chose truth. The plan was not born from rage, but from clarity. A simulated business trip. Cameras installed with the same precision he configured penetration tests. He was not hunting drama, he was verifying a breach. When the alert came and the live feed confirmed everything, Michael did not break. He felt something colder than anger, clean, precise, unforgiving. Financial analysts call it a point of no return. Military doctrine calls it commitment to action. Marriage had become a battlefield, and Michael was done retreating. Michael did not confront her the night he saw Ryan's message. He lay beside Emily, listening to her soft, steady breathing, memorizing the innocence on her sleeping face. It was strange how betrayal could look so peaceful when unconscious. The city outside whispered with distant sirens and rain sliding across the window pane. He could have woken her, demanded truth, screamed, cursed, begged. Instead, he pressed his palm gently against her back, feeling warmth he was already mourning. He spent the next day at work drafting what he called, privately, Operation Clean Break. Not in a notebook, not on a computer tied to his network. He wrote it in his head, step by meticulous step, like staging a penetration test. You do not attack first, you study, you infiltrate, you wait until the target believes they are safe. He scheduled a fake business trip through his company's travel portal, selecting a cybersecurity conference in Chicago he had no intention of attending. The automated email hit Emily's phone during her shift. She replied with a short heart emoji. No curiosity about the dates, no discussion. She did not even ask how long he would be gone. That tiny omission told him more than any forensic data. Before departure day, he bought 3 micro cameras using a prepaid Visa card, each the size of a coin battery. One went into a decorative vent cover facing the living room. Another behind the spine of a book on the shelf with a narrow field of view to the couch. The third embedded in a smoke detector, giving him a near parametric angle. Internal storage was disabled. Instead, they streamed encrypted directly into a private cloud server he built from scratch. Military-grade AES 256 encryption, 2-factor authentication, no chance of detection unless someone understood network infrastructure at his level. Emily never noticed. She was too busy living somewhere else emotionally. On the morning of the flight, Michael rolled his suitcase down the driveway, kissed her cheek, and said he would bring her a gift from Chicago. She smiled, but her eyes did not reach him. Bailey followed him to the door, head lowered as if he sensed the split in the household code. Animals detect energy shifts humans ignore. Michael knelt, scratched behind his ears and whispered, "Look after her, buddy." The dog licked his hand once, solemn, like a soldier acknowledging command. He drove away with the radio muted. Silence became the sound of war drums. At the hotel, room 407 became his command center. Bed untouched, curtains closed. Blue glow from the laptop screen illuminating a man who looked composed to anyone else, but inside, pressure built like compressed gas behind steel plates. He connected to the feed at 6:03 p.m. Emily was still at work. The house sat quiet, pretending to be faithful. He waited. Time slowed into something viscous. Hours stretched as if the world held its breath. Michael watched security logs from his home network like battlefield telemetry. Devices connecting, disconnecting, bandwidth spikes. When Emily got home at 7:46 p.m., he leaned forward. She changed her clothes, poured a glass of wine, paced the kitchen distractedly. She checked her phone repeatedly like someone waiting for clearance from mission control. At 8:17, the front door opened. Ryan entered with a casual swagger. No hesitation about walking into another man's home. Emily welcomed him with a quick kiss, nothing furtive or scared, comfortably guilty. She had rehearsed this betrayal until it felt routine. They drank his champagne. Michael recognized the soft clink of crystal against crystal. He froze that sound in his memory like evidence. Ryan pulled Emily onto the couch. The same couch where Michael once fell asleep with her after building their first IKEA bookshelf, laughing at poorly translated instructions. Now she straddled another man there, fingers tracing his jaw. Michael stared with the stillness of a marksman waiting for the perfect shot. Inside him, something broke quietly. No yelling, no tears, just a realization sharp enough to cut through bone. She never thought he would find out. She underestimated the wrong man. Michael clicked a screen capture, then another, and another. Not out of cruelty, but documentation. Everything stored redundantly across servers like financial records before audit. He did not look away, even when they moved with each other like lovers who believed they deserved secrecy. Pain did not scream. It compressed, turning to something denser, colder. Precision weaponry is not forged in fire. It is built in ice. Michael closed the laptop gently, as if nothing extraordinary had happened. He poured himself a glass of whiskey from the minibar. No shaking hand, no broken voice. He drank slow, letting the burn settle inside his chest like ignition fuel. Revenge would not be rushed, it would be engineered. He would return home smiling, loving, patient. Let her think she was safe. Let her believe she was clever. Because when he struck, it would not be rage. It would be absolute. Michael returned on a Sunday afternoon. No grand surprise entrance. No confrontation speech. just the quiet arrival of a man nobody realized had already seen the truth. The house looked exactly as he left it. Shoes neatly lined by the door. The scent of laundry detergent lingering in the hallway. Bailey's nails tapping happily across hardwood as if nothing in the world was broken. Innocence lives mostly in animals and children. Emily appeared from the kitchen wearing a soft gray sweater, hair in a loose bun. She smiled, warm, believable, rehearsed. The kind of smile people give when they have something to hide and think they are winning. "You are back early," she said, stepping forward to hug him. Michael let her arms fold around him. He inhaled her perfume, vanilla with something sharper beneath it, maybe cedar, maybe memory of someone else's skin. He held her gently, his hand resting on her back the way it always had. But something about his touch was different. Controlled, measured, like a sniper adjusting his stance. "Chicago wrapped sooner than expected," he replied. His voice was calm even, no tremor. It amazed him how easy it was to lie when the truth was nuclear. She pulled back, brushing hair behind her ear. "You should have told me. I would have made dinner." "It is fine," he said. "We can order something, actually." He lifted a bouquet of white lilies from where he had set them down. "I got you these." Her eyes softened with surprise, maybe guilt. Flowers often do that. They remind us what we are risking. Michael kissed her cheek, watched the flush rise beneath her skin. She did not know she was standing on a fault line. They cooked together that evening. Pasta, garlic bread, a salad Emily barely touched. She laughed at his jokes, asked about imaginary conference speakers, nodded at acronyms he invented on the spot. He told her about zero-day vulnerabilities in cloud infrastructure, and she listened like a wife proud of her husband's mind. Every detail a test. Emily passed each one with polished deceit. Over dinner, Michael studied her the way analysts study market behavior, looking for fluctuations, inconsistencies, tells. Her fingers drummed the table when she thought he was not noticing. Her phone stayed face down beside her plate, lighting up once, twice, 3 times with muted notifications. She did not reach for it. Because cheaters perform restraint when being observed. He poured wine, toasted to new beginnings, and Emily smiled like she believed him. Michael wondered how she would react when she learned what that beginning really meant. Later, when she went to shower, he walked through their home slowly, like retracing crime scene steps. The couch looked innocent again. Blankets folded, cushions puffed as if prideful in their ability to hide memory. He ran his fingers across the fabric. Nothing revealed what had happened here, but he had video to prove otherwise. Digital evidence is the kind juries never ignore. Upstairs, he sat at his desk and opened a private browser. Not to watch the footage. He did not need to reopen wounds to know they were real. Instead, he downloaded divorce paperwork templates. He read Washington State Property Division laws. He checked tax implications of asset separation. He calculated equity in the house, factoring in joint accounts, retirement funds, and projected penalties. Financial warfare is quieter than fists. It leaves no bruises, only consequences. Michael saved documents to an encrypted folder titled Estate Planning. If Emily ever saw the name, she would think it responsible, even loving. He heard the shower stop. Water dripped into silence. He closed everything and met her in bed. She curled into him like she always did, unaware of the cold shift beneath his ribs. Betrayal had not turned him into a monster. It had made him precise. Emily whispered, "I missed you." He placed a slow kiss on her forehead. "I missed you too." The lie tasted like steel, clean, unforgiving. When she fell asleep, breathing soft and rhythmic, Michael stared at the ceiling. Every heartbeat felt like a countdown, not fast, just inevitable. Revenge does not need fury when the plan is already built. The system was compromised. He would not patch it. He would pull the plug. Downstairs, the cameras continued to record, not because he needed more proof, but because he understood one truth better than anyone. Documentation is power, and Michael Harris was done being powerless. The week that followed felt like walking through smoke. Nothing visible, but the smell of burning everywhere. Emily laughed more than usual, as if overcompensating. She cooked his favorite meals. She wore that soft summer dress he liked, pretending romance was alive. Michael matched her warmth inch for inch, the perfect husband role executed with military precision. But beneath that calm exterior, he was moving pieces across a board she never realized she was standing on. Every night, after she slept curled beneath his arm, Michael worked under dim desk light. He pulled data from cloud backups, indexing footage, time-stamping events, tagging every moment Emily and Ryan touched inside his home. He exported clips, attached them to a private evidence folder. Metadata intact. Geotags verified. Cheating is emotion. Proof is architecture. He synced financial statements next, joint account withdrawals lining up suspiciously with Emily's overtime shifts. Restaurant charges, hotel receipts, rideshare logs, GPS pings showing her phone near a downtown apartment Michael had never visited. He did not rage scroll through them. He studied them the way analysts study stock volatility. Cold, objective, inevitable. Then came Ryan. A quick search through LinkedIn confirmed what Michael suspected. Ryan Collins. Registered nurse at Evergreen Medical Center. Emily's co-worker. The hospital was preparing to promote Ryan to nurse supervisor in Q3, posted weeks ago in their internal bulletin. Promotion required exemplary conduct. No disciplinary record. Absolutely no involvement in misconduct with another employee, especially a married one. Michael felt a subtle shift in his breathing. Not exhilaration, something cleaner, like aligning code after weeks of debugging. He created an anonymous email account routed through layered VPNs. He drafted a message to Evergreen's HR department, attaching video clips, screenshots of messages, timestamps, receipts. Subject line simple: professional misconduct report, Ryan Collins and Emily Harris. No opinion, no accusation, just data. Facts speak louder when delivered without emotion. He hit send. 4 hours later, Evergreen HR opened the email. Michael watched because he placed a tracer pixel inside the attachment. Standard penetration testing technique. When the read receipt pinged, he leaned back in his chair, the room wrapped in silence. A small, controlled exhale escaped him. Nothing dramatic. Victory, when cold, tastes like water, clean and necessary. Ryan was called into HR 2 days later. Emily mentioned it casually over breakfast, frustration threading her voice. Something happened at work. Ryan got pulled into a meeting. No one knows why. Michael stirred his coffee. Slow circles, eyes calm. Strange. That afternoon, Ryan's promotion was suspended pending investigation. Rumors spread fast in hospitals. Emily grew tense, pacing the living room, phone glued to her hand as she texted him. He barely replied. Cheaters often turn on each other when consequences appear. 3 nights later, Michael planted the next seed. He mailed a physical copy of the evidence to Ryan's wife. No sender name, no note, only a flash drive labeled with dates. Michael imagined her opening it in their kitchen, watching betrayal unfold frame by frame. The champagne, the couch, Emily laughing with her wedding ring still on. Pain shared is pain multiplied. But Michael did not smile. Revenge was not pleasure. Revenge was balance. 2 days after that, Ryan's wife filed for separation. Word slipped quietly through Emily's conversations, her voice unsteady, confusion unraveling the composure she wore like armor. She asked Michael if something felt off lately. He kissed her forehead, the gesture tender enough to feel like love, and whispered, "Everything will be okay." That night, Emily slept restless beside him. He lay awake, listening to her breathing falter, feeling the distance between their bodies widen even though they touched. His hand hovered inches from her back but never touched her. He stared at the ceiling, replaying the footage in his mind like footage from a battlefield. A moment captured forever, bodies moving in a space he once called home. The next morning, Emily found a printout on her car seat. A single photo, her on the couch with Ryan, blurry but undeniable. No confrontation, no signature, just the truth staring back. She froze in the driveway, eyes wide with horror, lips trembling. Michael stood in the kitchen window, unseen, watching. Not triumph, just a quiet end beginning. Her hand shook as she came inside. "Michael, I think someone is trying to sabotage me." He turned, expression soft, voice smooth as cold steel. "Why would someone do that, Em?" Her eyes searched his face, desperate, but he gave her nothing. The perfect firewall, no information leaked. Something in her broke then. Not with sound, but with silence. Tears filled her eyes but never fell. She swallowed them the way people swallow guilt when it finally becomes heavy. Michael walked past her, brushed her shoulder like a breeze, and said gently, "We should talk tonight." She nodded, fragile. He went to work. She did not know yet that discussion would not be reconciliation. It would be sentencing. The morning Emily found the photo was the morning her composure finally cracked. She stood at the kitchen island, holding that print like a piece of radioactive truth. Her fingers trembled, knuckles pale, breath uneven in the cold air. The sun streamed through the window, warm on the countertops, but she shivered like someone standing in snow. Michael watched from across the room, coffee mug in hand, expression unreadable. He had become a mirror, reflecting nothing, offering no hint of what he knew. Emily glanced up at him with eyes that looked like questions she was too afraid to voice. "Michael," she whispered, "did you leave this for me?" He took a sip, slow, calm, and set the mug down without answering. Silence can be more violent than shouting. She waited, wide-eyed, shoulders stiff, but he walked past her, picked up his laptop bag, and kissed her cheek as if everything were normal. "Have a good day, Em," he said. Her breath hitched. "You too." He left, closing the door softly behind him. The sound was gentle, but it echoed like a verdict. At work, Emily's world began to fold in on itself. Supervisors called her into HR. They asked about professionalism, boundaries, conduct within the hospital. She denied everything, voice shaking to defensive. HR presented time-stamped parking logs, questions she could not answer. Her co-workers watched through glass walls as Emily's confident posture wilted, as she blinked back tears, as she walked out pale as smoke. Ryan did not meet her eyes. He walked past her in the hallway like she was a stranger. His wife had already served him papers. His promotion was gone. He blamed Emily. People always look for someone to burn when the guilt becomes too heavy to carry alone. That evening, Emily came home early. Michael found her sitting on the couch with knees pulled to her chest, same couch where betrayal began. The irony hollowed something inside him. She looked up, mascara smudged like bruises beneath her eyes. "Michael, something is happening. Someone is trying to ruin me. I might lose my job." He sat across from her, expression steady. "Why would someone target you? A sob escaped her throat, raw and small. "I do not know. I do not know. Please, just talk to me." Michael studied her, the way a soldier studies terrain before advancing. She was breaking, but this was not revenge completed. This was only gravity pulling her toward the consequence. For 3 nights, Emily cried herself to sleep beside him, whispered apologies into the dark, thinking he could not hear. "If I did anything wrong, if I ever made you feel unloved, I am sorry." It was confession without specifics, guilt searching for a crack. Michael never answered. He lay awake staring at the ceiling, chest rising slow and controlled like controlled breathing during long-range shooting. He was no longer the man who once kissed her shoulder in the morning, who believed love alone shielded marriage from decay. Something inside him had hardened into quiet steel. On the 4th night, Emily crawled into his lap and broke. "I need to tell you something," she whispered, voice shaking like brittle glass. I made mistakes. I was lonely. I thought you were drifting away. Ryan was just..." Michael placed a finger on her lips, not cruel, just final. "Do not lie to me about why." She froze. He looked at her the way judges look at defendants when the verdict is already written. "You were not lonely," he said. "You were distracted, and you thought I would never know." Tears spilled over. She grabbed his hands, pressing them to her cheeks. "I am begging you, please. I will fix it. Therapy, counseling, anything. Do not leave me." Her desperation filled the room like humidity before a storm. Michael felt something, not anger, not triumph, just quiet exhaustion. Years of trust eroded into this moment. A woman on her knees asking forgiveness from the man she thought too gentle to fight back. He brushed tears from her jawline with a thumb, gentle enough to feel like hope, but his voice held no softness. "Forgiveness is not a switch," he said. "It is a rebuilding, and I am not sure you gave me enough foundation to rebuild on." Emily cried harder, clinging to him as if he was the last structure standing in a collapsing city. Michael held her, not out of affection, but because breaking someone does not require physical force. Sometimes the hardest thing is to let them realize what they destroyed with their own hands. For the first time, Emily looked at him not as a husband, but as a stranger she could not read. He stood, leaving her on the couch, walked to his office and closed the door gently, never slamming, never yelling. Silence remains the sharpest blade. Behind that door, he opened the divorce documents. His signature line stared back like fate, waiting patiently. He was no longer hers. He was only deciding when to tell her. The house was silent the night Michael decided it was time. No storm, no dramatic thunder, just the stillness of an empty living room and the soft hum of the refrigerator. Emily sat at the dining table with her hands wrapped around a mug of chamomile tea she had barely touched. She looked fragile, stripped of the easy confidence she used to carry like perfume. Guilt had aged her in weeks. Michael entered with a folder tucked under his arm. He moved with steady precision, the way he did when handling sensitive data breaches. Once he sat across from her, he placed the folder on the table between them like evidence laid out in court. Emily's eyes flicked down, then back up to his. "What is that?" "Truth," Michael said. His voice was calm, not raised, not shaking. Cold water, not fire. He opened the folder. Inside were printed screenshots, time-stamped bank statements, ride receipts, stills from camera footage. Each piece arranged neatly, not chaotic. Organized wrongdoing. When Emily's eyes landed on the first photo, herself and Ryan on the couch, her face drained of color. She reached out but stopped midair, as if touching proof would burn her skin. "Michael!" Her voice cracked into pieces. "Please!" He slid the divorce papers across the table, smooth as a card dealer quietly ending a game. Her hand hovered above them, trembling like a guilty verdict waiting to be read. "You can say whatever you want," Michael said softly, "but you do not get to rewrite what happened here." She covered her mouth, a sob choking behind her palm. Tears fell onto the table, hitting the wood like tiny splashes of remorse. "I thought we could fix this," she whispered. "I thought you were giving me another chance." "I gave you silence," Michael replied, "not forgiveness." She shook her head violently, panic rising. "We can go to counseling. I will quit my job. I will do anything. Please, please do not throw away 10 years. He leaned back, gaze steady, eyes like frosted glass. "Emily, you threw them first." Her breath collapsed in a shudder. "I was stupid. I was selfish. I know, but I never wanted to lose you." Michael folded his hands. "You did not think you would." Silence settled again, thick, immeasurable. Emily stared at him, searching for a crack, a flicker of the man who once worshipped her laughter. But the man across from her was different now, not vengeful, not cruel, simply done. "I talked to an attorney," he continued. "With the evidence, the house is likely to be awarded to me. Washington is a no-fault state, but proof influences settlement. I am offering you a voluntary agreement. You keep your car, your savings. I will not pursue your retirement fund." Her eyes widened. Not relief, shock. He was not stripping her bare. He was letting her walk away with dignity she did not earn. That mercy hurt worse than brutality. "And Bailey?" she whispered. "He stays with me." She nodded slowly, heartbreak etched across her face. Bailey, sensing tension, lay under Michael's hand instead of hers. "Dogs know where loyalty lives." Emily signed. Her signature wavered at first, then settled into acceptance. Michael watched her write the final stroke of her name, the ink absorbing into paper like blood into snow. When she finished, she set the pen down and wiped her tears with the back of her sleeve. Wordlessly, she walked upstairs, packed 2 suitcases and folded clothes mechanically. No sentimental pauses, no last-minute pleas. She came back down 30 minutes later with swollen eyes and a defeated posture. Standing by the door, she looked at Michael one last time. "Do you hate me?" she asked. Michael considered the question. Hate was loud. What he felt was quiet. "No," he said, "I just do not know you anymore." That hurt her more than fury ever could. She nodded, tears falling freely now. She opened the door, stepped outside into the cold night, and closed it behind her with a soft click. The sound of a chapter ending, not with a slam, but with resignation. Michael stayed still for a long moment. The house, once filled with laughter and betrayal, now held only the echo of footsteps fading down the driveway. The weight lifted not like triumph, but like release. He did not smile. He simply breathed. For the first time in months, it did not hurt to inhale. Winter passed. Spring arrived like a slow unfreezing. The house felt different without Emily, lighter, quieter, but not haunting. No screaming ghosts of pain, no shattered memories scattered across the floor, just space. Clean space. Michael repainted the living room a cooler shade of steel blue, a color that fit the man he had become. He changed the couch. Not because it held betrayal, but because he wanted new furniture for a new chapter. He kept Bailey, who followed him room to room like a loyal shadow. Some evenings they sat on the porch as the neighborhood lights flicked on one by one. Families laughing behind windows, couples walking dogs, teenagers biking past with music leaking through cheap headphones. Ordinary life continued. Unbothered by the war, Michael survived. He found comfort in that ordinariness. He did not date immediately. He did not jump to distractions. No rebound, no late-night texting to fill silence. Healing is not replacing. Healing is rebuilding internal architecture, brick by brick, firewall by firewall. He started therapy quietly, once a week, not because he was broken, but because resilience grows stronger when examined instead of buried. On weekends, he began cycling along the waterfront, rain on asphalt, wind against cheeks, heart pounding like a drum of life rather than stress. He lost 15 pounds, not from pain, but from movement. He slept 8 hours straight for the first time in years. No nightmares, no late-night surveillance feeds, just rest. At work, he earned a promotion of his own. Cybersecurity lead, overseeing threat architecture for a financial firm. The irony was not lost on him. He spent his days preventing breaches while having survived the most personal one at home. His colleagues congratulated him, shook his hand firmly, unaware that this career milestone was built partly on the ashes of a marriage. But success did not taste like revenge, it tasted like oxygen. Emily emailed once, months later. A short message, apology, regret. She hoped he was well. Michael wrote back politely but briefly. No hostility, no pleading, just closure. She was working at a different hospital now, reputation intact enough to function, damaged enough to remember. Ryan had moved out of state. The story ended where it needed to, without flames, without public spectacle. Quiet consequences. Summer arrived. One Friday evening, Michael drove to the coast. No destination, no agenda, just movement. Bailey in the back seat, head out the window, wind flattening his ears. They reached the ocean near dusk. The sky was lavender fading into deep navy, the sun melting behind waves like gold dissolving into black water. Michael stepped barefoot into damp sand, jeans rolled to his calves. The Pacific stretched endless before him, waves rolling in a steady, ancient rhythm. He breathed in salt and memory, both sharp, both honest. Bailey chased seagulls nearby, barking against the tide, while Michael watched the horizon as if it contained answers. He thought of the past, not with rage, not with longing, just acknowledgement. A chapter that once defined him now felt like a paragraph. Pain had burned clean. Love had died, but dignity lived. He realized something profound, standing there under the open sky. He never needed to destroy her to win. He simply needed to choose himself. Michael sat on a piece of driftwood, slow waves lapping near his feet. He pulled out his phone, not to check surveillance feeds, not to replay evidence, but to take a photo of the ocean. A simple moment, proof of peace. The screen reflected his face, older maybe, more lined, but stronger. Not a man reduced by betrayal, a man rebuilt. He whispered into the wind, not to Emily, not to Ryan, but to the version of himself who endured it all. You did not scream, you did not break, you ended it right. The tide washed closer, cool water touching his skin like absolution. He closed his eyes. The world was so quiet he could hear his own heart beating, not rushed, not heavy, steady, alive. He stood, whistled for Bailey, and walked along the shoreline without looking back. The footprints he left behind filled slowly with water, erased by waves, as if the ocean itself was saying, "Some stories end without sound, and that is enough." In the end, Michael did not win through rage or violence or screaming. He won through clarity, self-respect, and the courage to walk away from what no longer honored him. Betrayal broke something inside him, yes, but it also built something better, a stronger version of himself, calm, patient, and unshakable. This story is not just about revenge, but about healing, boundaries, dignity, and the quiet power of choosing peace over chaos. Sometimes letting go is not weakness. It is the loudest statement of strength.